Am I centered in the frame? No. Am I gonna put bloopers at the end? Maybe. Hey there folks, welcome to another video. It is Pride Month, if you didn't know, or at least I hope it is when I'm uploading this. I'm just kind of going to be recording a lot of videos in bulk in like the next couple of hours because I'm working this summer and my parents don't know I have a YouTube channel. It's Pride Month, so of course that means lots of rainbow. And then I also have this really fun non-binary flag that my friend bought me for my birthday. I'm just gonna toss those to the side. No. And also because it is Pride Month, I have this fun shirt that I got from Hot Topic when I went to my first Pride Parade with my mother when I was 15. And it was quite interesting because Estelle was performing. She's the voice of Garnet from Steven Universe. And I was like, Mom, can we go see Estelle? Because it's like, no, not me, your child with an undercut who has a rainbow flag in their bedroom and many gay friends and is involved in tech crew. I'm not the queer one. No, I just happen to have this shirt and want to go to Pride. It's definitely for the performers. It wasn't for the performers. I am filming this on June 16th, and yesterday, which was June 15th, we found out that there are now legal protections for LGBTQ plus workers in the US, which is fucking amazing. But sometimes we forget the steps that it took to get us to where we are, so hi. This video is going to kind of be talking about the origins of Pride and how they're still relevant to this day. At least in the United States, the Stonewall riots were this huge thing when they happened, because it was 1969, started on June 28th and continued until the early morning of July 1st. Each night people would go to the Stonewall Inn, which was a really divey bar in New York City on Christopher Street. And throughout this there'll be like little photos popping up of like, hey, here's this person, here's this person. In the early morning in late June 1969, there was the Stonewall Inn, and gay bars were very commonly being raided by police because there were the laws in New York City at the time that you had to be wearing at least 3 articles of clothing that matched with your assigned gender at birth. So, yeah. But at places like gay bars, people were a lot more free to be themselves. But the interesting thing about the Stonewall Inn and a lot of gay bars at the time is that they were actually being run by the mafia. It was sort of this idea of, hey, what we're both doing is like kind of sketchy, kind of illegal. So it was just kind of like everybody did their own thing. That doesn't mean the mafia were like good people and like accepting. It was just more of like, you do what you do, I'll do what I do. And by no means was Stonewall like this glamorous establishment. It was a hole in the wall. Like they like took the beer glasses and like rinsed them in a bit of water, like in a bucket, and then fill them up with the next drink. But it was finally 1969 when you hear like people fighting back, really. People had had enough of this shit and were like, no more. You're not going to keep treating us like garbage. And it was in a lot of the newspapers in New York City, and a lot of the terms that were being used in the newspapers were trying to emasculate the patrons, because a lot of it was gay men, but basically trying to make somebody seem effeminate or like less masculine, and that was kind of the goal at the time. Stormy Delivery was a black butch lesbian, and she was credited as being somebody who kind of incited everything, because she had been put in handcuffs, complained about them being too tight, and was beaten by a police officer, and she finally shouted at the crowd, "Aren't you guys going to do anything?" And she was well known in the community because she had worked as a bouncer and also as a drag king, and just was a well known and respected person. And from that outburst, just all hell broke loose, and it's awesome to read about. Nobody really knows who threw the first brick or the first bottle or whatever, but a lot of the people who kind of kept the momentum going, and the 2 people that are really credited often is Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. Sadly, they're both gone now, but during their lives, they were incredible people. They're both trans women of color, and just, they're so fucking cool, man! Like, together they started STAR, which stands for Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, because in like the late 60s, early 70s, we didn't have a lot of the language that we do today, like gender nonconforming or transgender. Often it was like the feelings that we now know that are associated with those terms, but just they didn't have the words that we do for them. So together the 2 of them really helped to bring in like young trans kids off the streets, and they helped to fund this organization that was kind of like a homeless shelter, or at least acted as like a transitionary period to help these kids off the streets. and it was largely funded through their sex work. And just, they're so cool, and just, their fucking activism, man. Stonewall is often credited as being this first bit. It's like, there were riots for a couple of days, like, it didn't die out. And that's really what kind of kept the momentum going, because then in 1970, there was the Christopher Street Liberation Day Parade, which is kind of credited as being the first Pride Parade. It's continued since then. It's so cool just getting to see that part of history, and it's like, we're not taught it in schools. I feel like that would be a really cool thing to just start mentioning in like American education. Oh no, you're tainting the minds of children. It's like, no, most of us are more educated on this shit than our teachers. So like, this is like a little series that I'm planning on doing just because there's so much of our history that isn't really talked about. So it's gonna be, I'm still working on a name. Right now the working name is Quieted Queers. So it's kind of a very brief introduction into Stonewall. Some stuff that I have coming up is the Compton Cafeteria Riots, Harvey Milk, Gilbert Baker, and also a lot of the trans people from earlier in history who don't get enough kind of coverage. And also like all the queer people through history, and it's just gonna be great. Anyways, that's all for now with Quieted Queers. Happy Pride to all of you. Do what you can to support your local Black-owned businesses. Go to a protest if you can. Stay safe, sign petitions, donate. Do what you can to do your part. I'll link some really good stuff below. There's some Cardco websites that have a lot of really good resources and petitions you can sign. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please subscribe if you did. See you kids on the flip side.